Emil, Amok to you. High above nothing. I mean, I'm in a valley. I'm in a valley known for its lowness. Hey, I'm in my closet next to my PETA racism t-shirts and my gong. Sort of like, not the eyes of TJ Eckelberg, but sort of like the eye. Sort of like, they kind of look the same. Hey, hi, everyone. Hope you had a nice weekend. I went to a funeral, and I'm here to talk about it. You can catch my column on Substack, also on Inquirer.net, but Substack, you'll see it. Azam News has it, a version. Emil Amok. Holiday ellipses. You know, I just felt like doing the 3-dot kind of thing, like Herb Cain, so I'm going to talk about that today. Anyway, welcome to my Takeout, my Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. This is the audio version of same, where I usually write a column and then I talk about it. This is like the annotated version. You can get this. I don't really plug it anywhere. It's just a secret thing so I can pretend, or not pretend, but like practice talking out loud to people and looking at the camera. I'm not reading. I need these glasses though, because I like something on my nose. Is that weird? I just like something on my nose. Anyway, got to talk about this show I'm doing, 69. I'm doing 69 again. Not again. I'm doing a version of 69, Emil Amok 69. It's Emil Amok now. Not MS now. It's Emil Amok now. So it's going to be different from all the shows I've done, but it's an Emil Amok monologue, an Amok monologue. I'm doing it at the Potrero Hill stage, the playground up there. You know, the Potrero Hill, not the Potrero Hill playground, but there's a stage. They call it the Playground SF stage up there. It's up by a playground. And the link is crawling across your screen. The link is also stationary on the screen. So click on that, find out the dates. I've got 4 dates in January and coming up more dates in February for a different kind of show. Another monologue. Because a lot of stuff is going to be happening January and February. A lot of stuff happening now. And I'm going to be talking about all that today and also on that show. I mean, it's not this show. It's not this. I mean, this show is like a talk show. It's like a micro talk show. In the old days, you know, you had Rush Limbaugh, though I am not Rush Limbaugh. I am not Rush Limbaugh. And maybe 180 degrees different. But, you know, in the old days, we had talk shows. And now we have these things where it's very democratic. I don't have to, in terms of, you know, democracy, I don't need a big stick to have a radio station and syndicated stuff. I can just go online and talk. So I did talk shows in Washington, D.C., in where else? I did my talk show in Sacramento, San Francisco, and I miss doing the talk show. So I do these as well as my column. I love the column. And so I do the columns, and then I do these and to annotate the things that I might have missed in my column. But anyway, you can find it on Substack, Emil Amok Guillermo. And there you can get the 3-dot style, and here I just talk. Anyway, don't forget that show I'm doing in San Francisco. You know, it's going to crawl on the screen. You get it here. This, by the way, if you're watching it on Facebook, that's one place where this airs, this secret micro talk show. It also is on YouTube at Emil Amok 1. So check it out there. Thank you for being here with us. You know, I'm serious about this. I attended a funeral. I'll talk more about that. But first, you know, a weekend funeral, you know, you attend one of those and you know what it means to be dressed in black, right? Sort of like the Epstein files, right? I mean, the Epstein files, that was a big story of the weekend for people who, you know, pay attention to the news, even during the Christmas holiday or the holiday season. You know, my funeral attendance coincided with the release of these files. And did we ever think we were going to get at the truth? I mean, you see how we had this overwhelming mandate to release the files, and you see what we ended up with. We ended up sort of mourning for our democracy as you kept flipping through and said, oh, they're being honest. They're being They're being forthright. They're releasing these files, and look, everything is blacked out, redacted. They've taken a Sharpie. Everything is gone. I just don't think you can fulfill the Epstein Transparency Act by delivering thousands of redacted items. You know, some guy, a Filipino guy I know, released a picture that was released in the files, because you can go on the files, and it was a picture of, it was clearly Donald Trump wearing a MAGA hat, and he had his arm around a girl, and next to Trump was Bill Clinton. Now, Bill Clinton is exposed, full face. Donald Trump is redacted. Now, what does that tell you? So, the DOJ has redefined transparency, which generally means to shine light so that the public can scrutinize something, right? Transparency, here it is. We're out in plain view. And now transparency means to be obviously and shamelessly self-serving and political. That is what transparency is. See, we are not lying in a way to obfuscate things. We are lying out in the open. Here we are. We're not telling the truth. That's transparent. That's transparency in the Trump administration, where it just means just the opposite. That's the whole purpose of the point of the 69 world. It's just the opposite. Everything's upside down. Typical bad faith ploy of the Trump administration. So, and it's his DIY democracy, although it's not Trump himself. He's got loyal sycophants doing the dirty work. And, the best thing that can be said about the Epstein files, I wasn't in them, right? Were you? I mean, are any people of color in the Epstein files except maybe the victims, who are rightfully redacted? I'm talking about the women, but are there people of color in the Epstein files? We'd like to know. We'd like to know just how far diversity goes in our world. Speaking of Epstein, did you notice, if you were watching television today or had it on, Turner Classic Movies was playing The World of Henry Orient, about a classical pianist who wants to have an affair, and then he keeps bumping into these young girls who he thinks are spies of the husband of the woman he's having an affair with, but they turn out just to be young girls in New York, of course, precocious little brats, but who have developed these real feelings for Henry Orient, played by Peter Sellers. So who thought that would be a good film to play in this Epstein era? The World of Henry Orient, with these with these teenage girls on the prowl, falling in love with an older man, and the older man wanting to shoo them off. But, and what's weird is Jeffrey Epstein taught at Dalton School, where there were exactly these kind of New York City teenagers out in the prowl. Dalton School. Jeffrey Epstein. He likes to wear those Harvard t-shirts, but he taught at Dalton, and he was a Cooper Union guy. Anyway, here's today's my stocking stuffer for today. I want to honor my friend, local writer and literary legend Ishmael Reed, who has been tilting at windmills all his life, but he started blowing back fiercely. Once he moved back to Oakland, he started the Before Columbus Foundation. Now, what is the Before Columbus Foundation, or BCF? Well, it's a foundation that is dedicated to speaking out on behalf of those voices that have been othered. It truly is the voices of the voiceless. And we're talking about the literary voices that are a part of culture, not the temporal, stuff of news. We're talking about the stuff of literature, the stuff of culture and society. The Before Columbus Foundation honored that, still honors it 50 years later. They got a new book out called Blind Persistence. And that's the thing that kept the Before Columbus Foundation going. Got it started. It's the title of the new book, 50 years of the foundation, 50 years of the Before Columbus Foundation. They had their book launch at City Lights Bookstore. Why this is important? Well, you know how easy it is to have a voice just snuffed out, right? These days, you got multicultural books being censored, being banned. You have diversity that's been turned into a dirty word. Who stands up for the voices of the othered? Ishmael Reed's Before Columbus Foundation, still based in downtown Oakland, was founded 50 years ago to honor 10,000 years of American storytelling. 10,000 years. Ishmael was telling a story at the launch the other day at City Lights Bookstore, and he said, look, people would say 10,000 years, is that right? And he'd say, yeah. And he pointed to a picture of one of the former presidents of the Before Columbus Foundation. It was a Native American leader standing in front of a totem pole. And he said, those totem poles are books. Andrew Hope was the late president of the Before Columbus Foundation. And he was standing in front of those totem poles. And Ishmael said, those are books, those totem poles. And you read them vertically from top to bottom. And he said, we consider those storytelling. Before Columbus, you got to go 10,000 years. Before the English got here, there was stuff going on, right? And that's what you have to realize. There was stuff going on, but before the English got here. So anyway, Reed also says that the Before Columbus Foundation gets its juice, its energy from the fact that the East Coast institutions are limited to tokenism, with the devos and divas. And Ishmael said that devos and divas might overshadow members of a certain ethnic group who might write as well or better. So that's what we organize now for. And that's Before Columbus Foundation. They still come out with the American Book Awards. They still come out with a list of writers every year. I was honored one year in the year 2000 to be on that list for some writing I did. So in honor of the Before Columbus Foundation's history, which has now been published by Baraka Books out of Canada, Baraka Books. They have the launch in San Francisco at City Lights Bookstore for Blind Persistence, the history of the Before Columbus Foundation. Check it out. Good stocking stuffer if you're ever in doubt about whether or not multiculturalism or diversity or if you ever doubt that there's someone who's still out there fighting for diverse voices in our culture and society, look no further than the Before Columbus Foundation. This weekend, another thing happened. The news broke that Bowen Yang was going to be leaving SNL. His finale skit was a skit he performed with Ariana Grande and Cher. It was great. It was funny. It was kind of rather nostalgic. Bowen Yang in 7 years, he'll get dissed in social media. The trolls are out there saying, oh, he was never funny. Bowen Yang was so refreshing on that show. I first saw him about 8 years ago when he was doing these funny lip sync videos. And they were amusing, and it was just the beginning. He got picked up on SNL, and that's when things started really blossoming for him. In fact, he was the first SNL cast member ever to be nominated for an Emmy, which is something. I mean, these cast members are just seen as interchangeable parts, but Bowen Yang was so special and so versatile that he got nominated for an Emmy, nominated for a Golden Globe. I mean, it was the first time. Then people realized, oh, well, all these other folks on SNL are good, like, Keenan Thompson. And I'm just saying that Bowen Yang really, he opened things up there, opened people's minds. I mean, who else on that show could play a white male like JD Vance? Bowen Yang. Who else would play a Filipino? But Bowen Yang. Who else? He played the TSA agent in Newark. Who else but Bowen Yang could play an inanimate object like the white Titanic or the white iceberg that took down the Titanic? Bowen Yang. I salute the loud Asian. We may never get another loud Asian like him. I hope we do, but I don't think so. During his time at SNL, he became the one man diversity army. And what do you expect? I mean, he was, you know, he was so versatile. He played everything. And the one thing that I think people will throw back on his face, and that is, look at Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis is now a big guy. He's a big comic. And Bowen Yang actually was one of those artists on the show who spoke out and said, look at this guy's social media in the past. It's racist. Well, it was. And SNL didn't hire Shane Gillis a few years back. Remember when Shane Gillis was up for the role as a cast member? Since then, he's come back to host at SNL. And there was some pushback against Yang. Look, I don't blame Yang for anything about what happened. What happened, if you want to know the truth, is that racist jokes became suddenly acceptable with the rise of MAGA and Trump. And that's why SNL kind of backtracked. It wasn't a backtrack, it was just a reflection of society. And society was no longer big hearted and non racist, it was racist. So I think a lot of people will point that out about Yang as he, exits. But I will say this: SNL had become a kind of hindrance for Yang, and because he's exploding everywhere, and I'm just looking forward to more explosions from Bowen Yang. He's just 35. The explosions have only begun. I mean, a lot of people actually say, "Oh, I think he's too gay." He's who he is. I think the rise of a queer Asian like Bowen Yang, I think that's a great thing. I talk about this in my show, in my 69 show. I think Bowen Yang is, I think he's a Asian American cultural wonder. I salute Bowen Yang. Good luck to him. At age 35, he is about to explode even bigger. Now, I think Susie Wiles would have made a good challenge from Bowen Yang. Had he stuck, he could have dressed up in a wig and a dress, and he could have played Bowen. He could have played Susie Wiles, as she said that Trump has an alcoholic's personality. But you'll recall I pointed this out the other day when Dan was on the show, that the line that gets me is how she revealed in those Vanity Fair articles, Susie Wiles revealed how Donald Trump was more impressed by how Susie Wiles was the daughter of Pat Summerall. Pat Summerall being the NFL announcer with John Madden. And Susie Wiles said this. He said, Trump said, I judge people by their genes. I judge people by their genes, based on their genes. And that should tell you all you need to know about MAGA. All you need to know about what's going on with MAGA. All you need to know with Vivek Ramaswamy defending Usha Vance, getting Indians back, much more so than JD Vance trying to protect his wife. Here's the fact, folks. MAGA if you've been following the news about the split in MAGA. Well, it's no split. Hey, look, they're a white supremacist organization. MAGA is all about white supremacy, but no one is bold enough to say it. And they can't figure out how to make JD Vance, who will be their figurehead if Erica Kirk has her way, they can't figure out how to square JD Vance and his wife, Usha Vance, a mixed marriage to a non white. They can't figure out how to make that work when they really should embrace that and make that a thing, because by hesitating, they only show just how racist MAGA is. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is one of those, so-called leaders of the movement, and he was out there speaking. He was playing good cop, defending Usha Vance. Why wasn't JD Vance saying that? Because they haven't figured out how to make this work, how to make a white supremacy group appear less white supremacist. They can't figure that out. But we're seeing it now. We're seeing it as Vivek Ramaswamy tries to defend Usha Vance, tries to defend, you know, the a moral side to MAGA where it embraces everyone, inclusivity, diversity, but they haven't figured out how to make it work with the white folks because the white folks are offended. Because frankly, it really is a white supremacy organization. I mean, right? Leave no white man behind. Leave no white guy behind. A white women, it's an option. And certainly people of color, not allowed. Gives them the creeps. That's why they got rid of diversity. That's why they got rid of DEI, because it was a tool against them. So, when they can figure that out, see, now they're just having their growing pains trying to figure that out. They don't know how to do it. I mean, the left and Democrats, they're really just trying to figure it out too, but they're further ahead because the Democrats weren't, white supremacy based like the MAGA right. So that's the challenge for 2026, 2028, and beyond in America. How do we accept the fact that we are as diverse and we are as inclusive as we are? America is as diverse as it is. That's the way we set it up. 30 years ago when that happened, they were saying, oh, the minorities are going to become the majority. I thought, oh, happy day. America is fulfilling its promise. And people look at that and say, oh, no, America has to go back to the way things were, because when America was great, America was white. We got to figure this out, folks. We thought maybe we had, but we clearly haven't. I don't know how we do this, but Trump has his own idea, and that's just going backwards on civil rights, on voting rights, on everything. And now, as you see the fight for the soul of MAGA, MAGA can't figure it out yet either. And it would be different if JD Vance could say, look at me, I'm the perfect, coalition of people in America. I'm a white guy from Kentucky, from the Appalachia area, and I'm married. And I had all the great opportunities given to whites and white privilege. I got to Yale, and here I am. I married my Indian American sweetheart. And that should be a love story that they capitalize on to show inclusivity, but they can't do it. They don't know how to do it because they don't want to be seen as that. That's a problem. I mean, that's a real problem. You think the Democrats have problems with this? The Republicans have more problems. We'll see. I don't know how MAGA gets out of this. And meanwhile, you think just dealing with the anti-Semitism of Nick Fuentes is the tough thing. No, it's also the Asian American racism, the racism toward Asian Americans. We got to deal with that because Asian Americans are growing as a force, and of Asian Americans, the most political are Indian Americans. I don't mean to diss the Chinese, but they are the rising force. The South Asian, the Indian Americans. Kamala Harris, first Asian vice president, was in half Indian American. We got to deal with that mixed race situation. And JD Vance, if he had any guts, would embrace it and do it, but he doesn't have any guts. So we'll see how that plays out. It should be interesting for people like me following this stuff. It should be interesting. All right, take one more break to talk about my show, Emil Amok 69, 69 again. If you saw it in Fresno, no, you haven't seen it. If you saw it in Canada, no, you haven't seen it. It changes all the time. If you saw it at the Marsh in November, no, you haven't seen it. It's different. And definitely now that Donald Trump is, he's just really, I think people have noticed a lot more about Donald Trump in the last couple of weeks than they have at any other time in his presidency, first or second term. But when he mentioned Trump derangement syndrome and Rob Reiner, I think people decide, is this guy even human? Is this guy? I mean, he tries to do all these other things to distract, but it's real. The revelations are real. And so Emil Amok 69 talks about Trump derangement syndrome. It's about trying, see my play. It's a one-man show. It's playing at the Playground, San Francisco, in January. And get your tickets. It's part of Solo Fest. If you're watching on YouTube, you see the link there. See the link on my AMOK site, also on Substack. Get a link to the ticket. The tickets are free. They're free, sort of. It's by donation, right? You come in, come to the show, donate what you will, enjoy the show. Emil Amok 69. This one's subtitled "A Real Journalist Stands Up." Check it out. Coming in January. Go to the links if you're watching this on YouTube. All right, one last thing. I said at the top of this that I was at a funeral this weekend. Sad. And, instinct is to wear black. The first night, we were asked to wear sports paraphernalia because my brother-in-law, who I wrote about in previous columns, the perfect immigrant, loved San Francisco sports teams. So, of course, the Warriors. I mean, he died during the Warriors season. I hope that does not bode ill for the Warriors. Also, right at the key moment in the 49ers season, he was a big Niner fan. And, big Giants fan too. Not so much the Sharks. I don't know. I have to tell him about Canada. But so we wore the local jerseys and paraphernalia and the gear. One thing that it does not show disrespect for the deceased. It actually says something about being on the same team, which I think is the point about doing something like that, being on the same team. Of course, I had to talk. No one wanted to talk. I mean, I have a cousin who is a singer, a hula singer, and she sang something and talked, and then me. And I wanted to talk about my brother-in-law, Verhil, because he was, as I said in a previous column, He was a perfect immigrant. There are these guys. I mean, ICE and Homeland and Homeland Security, they say they're after the bad guys, but they're really after the good guys. They're really after all legal immigrants. They're really after everyone who is not white. And this plays into the whole anti non white sentiment, the white supremacist sentiment of the MAGA types. The goal of the immigrant, focus is to get all illegal and legal immigrants, all those who are not white, out of here. And this is what's happening. I mean, they're changing things to try to denaturalize people. They're changing things to get people who've come here legally. They're saying, no, you got to go back to where? That's the big question. Where are they going to send these people? And my brother-in-law was lucky that he was older, and he was married to a citizen. I just, how are they going to untangle this for people who are married and are citizens because of naturalization or because of marriage? I think they will find a way. That's my fear. And it's going to happen when you have things done by executive order. Oh, now, I haven't even begun to talk. Well, I'm not going to talk about the 60 Minutes thing today, but you see how one man, the willingness to please one man in charge is affecting everything. Immigration policy, the media. I mean, why did 60 Minutes pull that story on the El Salvador prisons? They pull it because, according to the new conservative editor of the New York Times, of CBS News, it was not what fairly reported. It was not. It needed more reporting. It needed to be more balanced. It was too. It was fairly reported and vetted by legal and by all the officials at CBS, except for Barry Weiss, chief sycophant, news editor at CBS News. And it was going to happen at 60 Minutes. It's happening now. So I think if you were a 60 Minutes fan, been watching it ever since Andy Rooney, been watching it ever since Harry Reasoner, been watching it ever since, on and on, Mike Wallace, when they were going after the little guy, going after the plumbers who and the contractors who ripped off people, and just local stuff to the bigger stuff. That show has gone through, well, it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, but now I think you're going to see a lot more soft 60 Minutes, a lot more sports stories, a lot more stories about that. That's a nice story about the uh, the family from Nottingham, with the siblings who play cello and the strings. That was a nice story last night, but it's not the hard hitting story like talking to people who are stuck in those prisons. I mean, that's reporting. Look, reporting just means that you're talking to people who other people don't want to be heard. Good journalism, uh, everything falls under journalism, right? Reported, look at the newspaper. The cartoons are in the newspaper. Is that journalism? No, but it's in the newspaper. Well, people only read newspapers now. But what's in a story? What's in a TV program like the Today Show? It's all kind of information. But the real news is the news that people don't want you to see, the news that the information people don't want you to have. And 60 Minutes was known for presenting that kind of news. Here's the people who went to that prison and they know what was going on. They wanted to show it, but people don't want you to know what's really going on. And that's the problem with what Barry Weiss did by pulling that piece, the Sharon Alfonsi piece on 60 Minutes. Sad. 60 Minutes is now like 59 minutes, just a little less. Maybe it's 50 minutes. It's a little less. That's sad. All right, so And I got off on a tangent there, talking about my brother-in-law, deceased. I went to that funeral, and I wanted just to say how he is a good guy. He's a good guy immigrant. He's the perfect immigrant. He's the kind of guy that all Americans should praise. He paid his taxes, obeyed the law. He raised two college educated women. He was married to my sister for the longest time. It's a good immigrant. Don't hear anything in the news about him. He's the good immigrant, the good American. That was my brother-in-law, Verhill. So I'm sad, of course, but here's the thing. This was the first funeral that I ever went to where I really saw it as Verhill's not there. The deceased is deceased. He's not there. It's just a body. And when you understand that, you can just let go because the body is the body. Expensive casket, forget it. The body is just a body. Verhill is there when your eyes are closed and you see him. Verhill is the spirit, the energy. He's out there, but he's not in that body. So, in many ways, the funeral is for the living. The funeral is for the living to deal with everything. And the fact is, when all is said and done, and you're at the buffet sitting next to each other, that's where the real challenges are. Because that's when you're asked to talk to people who you may or may not talk to, who you may or may not hold grudges against. What do you do? Do you want to continue doing that for the rest of your life? Or do you want to avoid them or do you give them a hug? Funerals are the way to deal with that kind of thing because presumably all the closest people in your life are there in that one room. When you're there at the buffet, at the end, and you're there to honor the deceased, but you're talking about, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, or hey, I know I haven't seen you, I know I haven't talked to you, but you're there. The living are together for a reason, and that reason is to forgive one another. The reason is to get back and connect with one another. The reason is to perform the Christmas miracle of forgiveness. That's what funerals are for. Funerals are there to help you discover the love that's still alive. We discover the love that's still alive, and we grow. We forgive one another. That's the Christmas miracle. So that's my avuncular advice for this podcast. If you want to know how it's done, that's how it's done. That's how miracles happen during Christmas. I mean, I once was assigned a story, a kind of a weird man in the street kind of story. Oh, we need 6 inches, 8 inches on miracles. Oh, okay. I'll go down to the Miracle Mile and I'll talk to people about miracles and let's see what they say. Oh boy, they were full of miracles. So this happened and ghosts, things happen, spooky, unexplained things. But really, the Christmas miracle is forgiveness. It really is. It really is. It really is. So that's our show for today. Hey, thank you. Thank you for listening, watching. I'm going to be at the Playground in San Francisco. It's up in Potrero Hill in January, and then a different show in February. So check it out. The one in February, January, more storytelling. The one in February, more laughing. More laughing. You need more laughing? They're both fun. They're both different. Come see both. They're both free with donation. Go to my website at amok.com. Go to this site on YouTube. If you're watching on the screen, on the crawl, check it out. My the latest versions of my Amok monologue, 69. I think I'm just going to stick to 69. I like that number. It's a nice round number. It's it's ambivalent. And if you think you've seen it before, it's 69.2. It's all by donation. So check it out. Coming up in San Francisco. All right. So that's it. I mean, have a happy holiday. I'll try to pop up with Ishmael, maybe pop up with Dan in the coming days. But I thought it's Monday. I gotta talk. Hey, I'm saying hi to Tony, saying hi to Tom. You know, they're out there. You know, I got these friends in all different aspects of my life. So, but the Emil space is real. The Emil space is real. Thank you for being with me. You know, I was listening. I was in on a conversation with a comedian. If you know her, Tatiana Frank, out of New York. And Tatiana said she meditates. And I said, wow, you know, Jerry Seinfeld meditates and Howard Stern meditates. She said, yeah, you know, I got into it, you know, because of TM. And yeah, okay, cool. Well, I'm a meditator too. I believe in doing nothing. I believe in doing nothing. I've been doing nothing all my life. I believe in Sharon Salzberg's loving kindness meditations. For you, for others, right? You know, it's like we expand the love. We give each other these hugs. So we like to end these things with a little loving kindness meditation. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Ease. Oh, that's ease. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for ease. We want to be like, we want it easy. May you live with ease. Man, I like that. Emil Guillermo here. Emil, Amok to you. Hey, till next time. Mahal Kita. Oh, Mahal Kita. Mahal Kita. Really? Really, Emil? Mahal Kita. Yeah, really. I mean it. Mahal